Let's listen to the fast version a couple times. I'm gonna show it to you or let you listen to it 3 times. You're gonna hear the conversation, but you're not gonna see any words. You're only gonna see my face. So this is really gonna test your listening skills. I'm gonna turn off my microphone and I want you to listen to this original fast audio version. Are you ready? We're gonna listen to it 3 times. Okay, let's listen.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern.
Okay, thank you for your patience. The first time the sound wasn't on, but the second time it was. So I hope that you got a chance to listen to that clip 3 times. It was pretty quick. Margie mentioned that she homeschooled her children. Let's listen to the slow version. I want you to hear every single word slowly. This version is not with Margie. It's with me and Dan, my husband. We're reading it really slowly. So I hope that it will be easier for you to understand, but if you have your pen, make sure that you're writing down everything you hear. All right, are you ready? I'm going to turn over my microphone. I'm going to turn it off, and I want you to hear the speakers so that you can check out exactly what you're listening to. Okay, let's listen. Day 16, typical.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern. Day 16, typical.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern. Day 16, typical.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern. All right, so we listened to the fast version 3 times, actually 6 times, but the first 3 times didn't work. It's okay. Then the slow version 3 times. You heard Dan say what Margie was saying, and I was saying what I was saying, but also slower. Did you think that the slow version was easier for you to understand? If you heard that fast version and you felt, this is too fast, that's probably also how you feel when you watch English TV shows or movies, maybe when you talk on the phone with a business client, that same feeling of, I can't understand the majority of what they're saying, or I don't understand these little expressions. Well, when you're listening to the slow version, you're going to be able to pick up on those little details, and it's going to help you build your fluency and build your listening skills. So let's go to step number 4. I hope that you were writing what you were listening to, or at least listening closely. we're going to take a look at the worksheet. The transcript. I'm going to show you the transcript. We're going to go over the transcript. I'm going to explain 3 vocabulary words because every day in the 30-day listening challenge, there are 3 vocabulary expressions that I'll tell you more about from each clip. So let's take a look at the transcript. I'm going to share my screen again. And we are going to look at exactly what was said. All right, here you can see 30-day English listening challenge 2, the transcript. Oh, does this look familiar? You saw on the worksheet, Margie, Vanessa, Margie, Vanessa, Margie, Vanessa. And here we have exactly what we said. So I hope that as you were writing, your paper looks similar to this. And then at the bottom, we have vocabulary expressions. So let's talk about these in just a moment. But first, I'd like to go over the transcript. I'm going to read this slowly. And after we finish talking about the transcript, we're going to go back and listen to the fast version a couple times so that you can see, oh, I do understand more and I do know what this means. So in the beginning, Margie said, I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when. I'll explain that expression in just a moment. Then I said, not the norm, and Margie repeats, not the norm. I said, yeah, that's kind of typical of the US though, that people do things differently. Margie agrees. She says, yeah. And I said, not everyone follows the same pattern. Whew. All right, I hope that you heard something similar to this, at least in the slow version. Let's talk about these 3 vocabulary expressions because they're essential for understanding the meaning of this short clip. Margie says, homeschooling was a big thing way back when. This expression way back when is super common. We say this all the time to talk about an undefined time a long time ago. You're not saying 10 years ago. That's specific. Way back when is a general time a long time ago. So maybe you might say, way back when women didn't wear pants. They wore skirts or dresses. This is not a specific time, but it's just a general time a long time ago. So she said, I homeschooled my children. That was a big thing. That means it wasn't common. It was unusual way back when. So 20 years ago when her children were younger. So I kind of repeated the idea, not the norm, the norm. I made a video on YouTube several years ago about the expression the norm. And this means normal. It's not normal. That wasn't normal. So we can say casually, oh, that's not the norm, or it is the norm. So you might say, in my country, it is the norm to eat dinner late. We eat dinner at 8 p.m., 9 p.m. It's the norm to eat dinner late. So let me know, what is something that is the norm in your country? That's the second vocabulary expression that we talk about down here. And finally, why in the world did I say people do things differently? Why did I repeat do twice? Well, this is another thing that I made a YouTube video about quite a long time ago. We often use do as emphasis. So if you said to me, Vanessa, you don't like cats? Well, I like cats, so I could respond, I do like cats. I'm adding do before the verb. And here, the verb happens to be do. So that's why it seems a little strange that they're together, because we could say people do things differently. But instead, I decided to emphasize what I was saying. Oh, people do things differently. So you might add do in front of something else that is emphasized. All right, so those are the 3 vocabulary words here. I'm going to go back to my video for just a moment. So before we take a look at the fast version and then take a look at the transcript so you can read them and listen at the same time, I want to let you know that every day for the 30-day English listening challenge, you're going to get 3 new vocabulary expressions like this included in the transcript. Because yes, it's good to improve your listening skills, but you need to know what they're saying too. Maybe you can understand, you can hear each word, but can you understand it? Can you use those expressions yourself? Well, that's what the vocabulary is for. And because it's such a short clip, I hope that it will help you to repeat it a lot of times to be able to ingrain it in your memory. Okay, let's look at the transcript. I'm going to share my screen, and we're also going to listen to the fast version a couple times. I want you to follow along with your eyes, check your paper that you were writing on, and make sure that you wrote it accurately. And if you didn't write something accurately, circle it. Go back and decide, oh, every time that she said and, I wrote an. I didn't add a D. I couldn't hear that sound. So you know, for you, that's a difficult thing to hear. So make sure that you go back and analyze your own difficulties with that. Let's go ahead and listen to the fast version together. All right, I'm going to play it here and share my screen. Let's do that.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern.
I homeschooled my children, and that was a big thing way back when.
Not the norm.
Not the norm.
Yeah, that's kind of typical of the US, though, that people do things differently.
Yeah.
Not everyone follows the same pattern.